everybody.
Hi, friends. Well, from beautiful, sunny Salt Lake City, Utah.
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
A podcast exploring religion, politics, current events from two atheists just trying to survive life here in the fascist hellscape.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up on the show today, Dan, measles continues to break out.
The measles.
Through Texas.
It's so great.
Now probably the entire country.
Man.
Things are just looking up for America right now.
The herd is no longer immune, my friends, and that's a problem.
And we're going to see the consequences of that.
But we're going to have a very interesting and slightly terrifying conversation about it. And just to tease this a little bit, as Frank and I discussed what we were about to talk about, Frank's final word was, I'm probably going to push you a lot on this.
Well, I said I might. That wasn't a promise, Dan. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We'll see. It might be a fight. I don't know. This might be the last episode of Thank God I'm Atheist.
No. Anyway, there's other stuff we need to talk about first.
Yeah.
Some things happened this week, Dan, that deserve our attention, including one Ms. Kim Davis.
No, what? Really?
Oh, that you recognize her name, everybody.
We haven't heard the last of her.
Kentucky county clerk, or the county clerk in Kentucky, who denied a marriage license to same-sex couples way back when.
Right? She was on the vanguard. She was way out in front of that.
This is back in the before times. Right as gay marriage was becoming legal across the land, she stepped out and she refused to issue this license. And she's been caught up in legal turmoil ever since, because there's sort of this expectation that as like an elected, official, that you have to, sort of
do your job.
Right.
Yeah.
And that there are things. And so she claimed that her First Amendment rights were being violated. Oh. And anyway, I have sworn that I will keep everybody updated as this story continues to progress through the courts. She has lost her most recent appeal. Oh. The Sixth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals has denied a request from former county clerk Kim Davis to strike down a federal jury's judgment against her, where she was also ordered to pay the plaintiffs $100,000. That was the couple that was denied their marriage license.
Yeah.
And so let's see. It's a 3-judge panel, and this is who's on who these judges are. There's a George W. Bush appointee, there's a Donald Trump appointee, and a Joe Biden appointee. And they all agreed.
Oh, okay. It was unanimous.
Yeah. There was a concurrence in part by the Donald Trump appointee. But so there were aspects of the ruling that maybe they were a little uncomfortable with, but that Chad Riedler was uncomfortable with.
Of course, Donald Trump appointed a Chad,
and Joe Biden appointed an Andre.
Oh, okay.
And George W. Bush, Helen, probably.
Helen.
Probably Helen. I Helene.
Does it have an E on the end of it?
Has an E on the end.
Okay.
Yeah,
Helene, yeah.
That's a hard one, but anyway, they, let's see, they're in their opinion. They said that Davis cannot raise a free exercise clause defense, a First Amendment defense, because she is being held liable for state action, which the First Amendment does not protect. They
dun, dun, dun.
They said that her actions while functioning as a county clerk are quintessential state action, right?
Mm-hmm.
The First Amendment shields Davis where she functioned as a private citizen, but not where she engaged in state action.
I can say this as a private citizen, I have denied all marriage licenses for everybody. I've never granted a marriage license.
And you, whenever
citizen.
Asked, you denied.
I'm like, no,
good for you.
You may not get married.
Right. Good for you, Dan. But her lawyer, Matt Staver of the Liberty Council, argued that the $100,000 that she was ordered to pay was arbitrary because no one could quantify emotional damage.
That's never been attempted in jurisprudence ever.
The judges pointed to case law as a basis for, that it wasn't exactly arbitrary. And they cited testimony from the men about feeling frightened and humiliated. Yeah. He also argued that the couple could have gotten their license elsewhere. And the judges said that would only compound the stigma. So these are judges who kind of get it. And two of them are Republican appointees.
All right.
So I'm not this is interesting. This case terrifies me because the intention here by the Liberty Council is to run this all the way to the Supreme Court, of course, and try to overturn gay marriage in America.
Right.
And
or at very least make it okay for clerks to say no.
Sure. Yeah, they would love that. That would be a win, but I think the win that they're going for is the whole thing.
Of course.
And so it's going to be both interesting and a little terrifying to continue watching this case. But
I mean, that's good news though.
I think it's really good news because
I'm going to hold on to it
because I'm going to hold on to it too, because we need things to hold on to right now.
As we all lose our grasp on reality.
Yeah.
Climbing onto those types of things and holding on for dear life is nice.
I mean, I hate to just that in some ways this has been my reaction to this whole everything that's going on is just I'm concerned about my marriage, right? Yeah. I'm concerned about our legal status and we've made decisions based on that legal status. We've planned our future based on that. So it's
which was dumb of you.
Which was maybe not the smartest thing. Just knowing that it's maybe not a stable.
It's all going away.
Right. But yeah, it's a little scary. And so I'm holding on to this one.
Yeah, indeed.
And fuck her. I love whenever this woman, if there was ever somebody who deserved what they're getting.
Yeah.
I think it's her. So
the fuckery of her. Okay. I am going to take us to the skies over France.
Oh.
Where tragedy struck recently. In the form of an Air France flight from Mauritius to Paris.
There's so much bad airline news lately. So much.
Well, at very least,
so these planes are going down, Dan.
This one can't be blamed on Elon firing anybody, so that's nice. This one's just a very basic thing. But it got me thinking about stuff. The story is this 12-hour flight from Mauritius to Paris. A family of 8 Jewish Orthodox Jewish family got on the flight. They had pre-ordered ahead of time kosher meals and were informed when they got to the airport that, alas, the kosher meals had not made it aboard.
Oh, okay.
They were not there. So they were like, what can you eat? To which they said, uncooked fruit and vegetables is basically all we can eat. Oh, because here's the thing about kosher.
Okay.
Kosher food has to be, if it's cooked, it has to be cooked in a kosher kitchen. It can't be cooked in the same place where the other stuff, the non-kosher is cooked.
It's very complicated.
It's very complicated. Yeah. And your God is stupid. That is just these are bullshit rules. And frankly, when you are in a position where it's like, you did everything right, you did everything you could do, the other people fucked it up. If your God can't just say, you tried, have the non-kosher meal. It's
eat
not
some
a big
pork
deal.
at that point.
It's
like
eat what you're
you
given.
are off the hook. Have a ham sandwich.
You tried your best. It's a 12-hour flight. Just eat the food. There's children here. Eat the food. Apparently, the way that the airline handled it was very bad.
Oh, no.
The airline delivered meals to them that had the KSML written on it. KSML just stands for something kosher something.
Okay.
It's what would be on a kosher meal. These were not kosher meals.
Oh no.
They had just handwritten those letters on the meals and tried to pass it off.
And they knew because it was like cheeseburgers and
right. Yeah. I mean, I think I don't even know. They knew because it wasn't like wrapped the specific way that they're wrapped. And they're literally wrapped in plastic and foil. And then it's like labeled, only the consumer is allowed to open this. Do not open it, flight attendant or whatever.
Okay.
And the thing is that flight attendants are well trained on this sort of thing. So
sure.
they know.
Yeah.
They know. This was just the most ham-handed thing.
Ham-handed, in fact. Yeah, it probably was.
Oh, see, they probably purposefully rubbed their hands with ham just to
that's where it comes. That's where the expression comes from.
Is it?
No,
it could be. I don't know. It is astounding. Every part of this is astounding. The way that the airline acted is unforgivable. Okay, if it were just like one flight attendant who just made the mistake, who just was like rolled their eyes and wrote the letters on there and handed, that would be one thing.
Pretty bad thing.
Pretty bad. Yeah. Not okay. Then apparently Air France apologized and offered each family member a €30 voucher. 30 fucking euros.
Oh my God.
For literally trying to trick them into eating food that they are religiously banned from eating. That's so bad. Like, as dumb as I think the kosher laws are, because it's just what they call, what a lot of people label virtue signaling, or what Dan McClellan would call costly signaling. And that's just it. That's a social thing. Most groups have some form of costly signaling. Some of it is much, much more stringent than others. You and I grew up Mormon, and there are plenty of modes of costly signaling in the Mormon culture.
Sure.
But it's like kosher eating, or when it's that extreme, when it's so extreme that like it can't be cooked in the same kitchen, or, you can't use a knife that's ever cut a thing, or you can't blah, blah, blah. And the animal has to have been killed in this very specific way.
Yeah, that's not costly. That's prohibitively expensive
and
signaling.
Stupid.
It's just like, what?
Yeah. It's just like, I understand, because like they set up these rules. Somebody sets up these rules specifically to make it hard, because making it hard makes it mean more. But it's dumb.
Yeah.
It's just dumb.
I mean, yeah.
I'm gonna start asking for the Amish meal,
no.
And they won't know what that is, and I will just be like, well, look it up.
Because they've never had an Amish person fly with them before,
right?
Probably.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Dan, that's not nice. That's not nice at all.
It's also a bad idea. Like, I want the better food.
Yeah.
I don't want bad food.
Yeah. And funny. Yeah. I guess we grew up with some dumb rules, but not like that.
No. Different dumb rules.
Yeah. And also, there are so many rules, dietary rules for Mormons, and they ignore most of them and just don't drink coffee or alcohol and call it good. So the rest of them, they're just like,
which would seem intensely onerous to many people outside of Mormonism. The idea of giving up coffee and alcohol.
Oh my God.
Terrifying.
All righty. Well, Dan, here's
Yes.
an interesting story about the rise of Islam in American prisons, of all places.
Yeah.
According to CBS News, tens of thousands of prisoners in the U.S. convert to Islam every year, which, sounds like a lot. But then when you consider the actual number of people imprisoned in this country,
Right. Which is like half of our population.
it may not actually be that significant. But it is interesting that Islam is sort of seen as this fastest growing religion in the prisons, right?
Yeah.
Because
Weird that imprisoning people would lead to radicalization or grand changes in
sure. I mean,
beliefs
there
or
are moderate versions of Islam that aren't radical. It's interesting that you assume that
I do assume. I do. I assume that if you're converting to anything in prison, it's probably kind of radical.
Yeah, and that's probably true. I just find it really interesting that that Christian ministers are at the ready.
Yeah.
In prisons, right? That there are chaplains, that they're that it's so easy to convert to Christianity or to become more Christian than you already were, right?
And that happens too.
And that definitely does happen. But apparently not at the rates that people are converting to Islam.
Which I kind of like.
Yeah, maybe.
I want it to be the scary one. I want people's idea of like what we should do with criminals to result in them being even scarier.
Yeah. You want them joining the Bommy organization. Yeah, that's the one. It's all I have in this article is perspective from an imam for sort of the reasons why people might convert to Islam. But from I think his perspective is kind of interesting. He says that it's because Islam has a level of submission to it, right? I mean, that's the name, Islam, submit. So you submit to a certain regiment. There's 5 daily prayers. There's a method, right? So if you think about sort of like these long days, day after day of monotony, right? In prison, at least I assume so. And then you have this practice come in that is regimented, that can create order for you. I kind of do get that, because I don't think Christianity delivers, the same thing, right? Like saying your prayers, before you go to bed. Like it's just not the same thing. And again, dietary restrictions and
I think ritual is an interesting thing for people to cling to in those situations. So that makes some sense. That's interesting.
And this is from a prisoner who converted by the name of Muhammad Amin Anderson. I don't know why that makes me laugh.
I know exactly why that makes me laugh. Because it sounds so bullshit.
He's serving a 30-year jail term for a gang-related murder. But he's been practicing Islam for the last 2 years. He says, when I came to prison, I didn't have my humanity. But after entering prison, I recovered my humanity. He was born as Christopher Anderson, and is the son of a preacher. I wonder how that's going over. One disappointment compounded by another.
His gangbanging was likely also brought on by the fact that he was a son of a preacher. So I'm guessing he doesn't really mind disappointing daddy.
Oh, God. But I think there's something, once again, we know that there's that there's a lot wrong with how we deal with criminal justice in the United States, right? It's all about just punishment and sequestering rather than trying to reform, right?
It's never about like giving these people something to cling to, some entryway back into society, some way of reclaiming their humanity or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is why they weren't, which is why they're there in the first place, 99% of the time.
Right. And then, but you find that phrase, reclaiming humanity, is the reason why this guy found Islam attractive.
And I'm fine with that. I actually think that's fine. I think, I wish that there were better programs that didn't have to do with, magical sky daddies and, that didn't also, oppress women and all sorts of other problematic stuff. But
and gay people
and gay people, literally all of the things.
Kind of a big problem.
But at very least, like if they can find a way back to their own humanity, that's a start for me. I'm actually fine with that.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though they're being radicalized, to use your words.
Yeah. They're already radicalized. Prison is a radicalization. I'd rather they have that radicalization than fucking out the American prison system radicalization. So there you go. Plus it pisses off the conservatives, which makes me happy.
Well, alrighty then.
All right. Well, I'm going to move on before I get into any more trouble.
I don't even know what to do with half of what you just said. So.
Great. I'm fine with that. Let's move on to Missouri, where a new bill is working its way through the legislature.
Okay.
That's never a good thing now in these United States. That's nothing good is happening in our state legislatures currently. And this is definitely in the same category. This is from ProPublica. They reported on a proposal that would basically give Missourians, Missourites, I don't know, the option of giving, rather than paying their state taxes, they could just get a 100% tax credit if they give the same amount of money to pregnancy, what do they call them? Like pregnancy resource centers.
What?
Yeah.
No.
So for those of you who don't really know, pregnancy resource centers are not places where women can go and get good information. They are Christian places where pregnant women or pregnant people can go, and they basically will lie to you about abortion being this terrible thing that only harms women and their beautiful unborn babies, and it's just fact free. They literally lie all the time. They lie about it. It'll make you infertile and it'll do all this stuff.
Trickery.
It's trickery.
It's also, I think a lot of the tactics are just delay.
Yeah.
Until
it's too late.
Until it's too late. You can no longer legally get the abortion that you wanted or needed.
And this comes hard on the heels of Missouri actually now having it. They somehow banned abortion and now it's back. Abortion is now legal again and starting to happen again in Missouri. So, and by the way, this 100% tax credit is extreme, but it's just up 30% from where it was already. What? A 70% annual 70% tax credit you could get for donating to these things. So like this is insane. But here's what I think needs to happen. And I mean this sincerely. They need some groups like, I don't know, American Atheists or ACLU or somebody needs to figure out what is considered legally a pregnancy resource center,
Mm.
stay within those guidelines, but then start creating real pregnancy resource centers that aren't Christian, that are just dedicated to giving women and pregnant people good advice.
Yeah, this is a job for the Satanic Temple,
Yes,
Dan.
I love it.
Yeah.
They need to start up good pregnancy resource centers, and then like Missourians who listen to our show can donate their entire tax credit, their entire tax bill for the state to that organization.
I can't believe that that it's the entire tax bill that you can just write
it right off,
basically.
Yeah.
That is not a well-run state.
It is
That is a terrible idea.
They say things like, this gives taxpayers a chance to have control over what happens to their taxes. No, you don't want the taxpayer to control where the money goes.
No.
That's the whole point.
Right.
You take the money needs to be distributed, and then you decide for the greater good, because human beings individually are very selfish, awful people.
I have really grown to dislike the phrasing of how we're spending the taxpayers' money.
Right.
When you go and buy some burgers at McDonald's, you've turned your money over, and McDonald's is not talking about how how they're spending the burger purchasers' money, right? Like the government, yes, it's totally different. I get it. That was probably a bad example, but you've turned your money over to the government. It is now the government's money.
But the government is our organization.
Yeah, I get it, but it is now the government's money, and so the phrasing of how we need to be smart with how we're spending the taxpayers' dollar. It's a fiscally conservative line, right?
Yeah, it's a way of making people feel like, they're taking my money and doing something that I don't like with my money.
Right. It's not your money. If anything, it's our money.
Right.
But I get the mentality. I understand it. I know that it's not the best argument in the world, but I kind of just bristle at that phrasing, because I know what it's meant to do. It's meant to manipulate people into thinking that they need to be, they should be careful with the government's money, because you want to be able to do as much with the government as you can,
and not be wasteful,
and not be wasteful, and to be actually efficient, right?
Yeah.
Which is not what's actually happening right now.
No.
And so it's I don't know. I just hate that phrasing. It's bugged me for years.
Fair enough.
There, I said it.
Yeah. Do you have another thing another story you'd like to tell?
I suppose. Mine is more sort of a rundown. So it's interesting that you just did a legislative thing, because I've noticed a lot of hot button issues being addressed by legislatures, or at least that there have been bills introduced to address those issues. And a lot of these bills are just statement bills, right? They're meant to get a headline, and sure, the person sponsoring it would love it if it were true, but they know that it's probably going to die somewhere in the process. So some of these have more or less chance of actually becoming law, but I just kind of wanted to do a quick rundown of some that were in the news this week, including one in Oklahoma. This is
it's got to be one in Oklahoma. You can't just
we'll start
not do Oklahoma.
Start with the obvious one. So a bill advanced. It went left committee, and still needs to be voted on by the House, but that it would allow healthcare providers to refuse to offer specific procedures or care based on moral, religious, or conscientious beliefs. The legislation could allow a physician or an entire hospital, in fact, to choose not to offer procedures that conflict with personal beliefs.
Does that mean, just to be clear, like I know that this is aimed at abortion, like very obviously aimed at and at trans healthcare.
Yeah.
But could there be a carve out? Is it possible then that if, let's say, a certain orange president fell ill in that state, that a doctor could say, it is against my religious beliefs to aid this person?
I don't know, Dan. No specific procedures apparently were listed, or types of care. Nothing like that was outlined. So that does mean that doctors or healthcare providers in general could stop offering STD testing, blood transfusions, any kind of elective procedure that they just don't like. And so I don't know. I think if somebody's life is on the line, it's a different thing. I think the article does kind of address that in emergency situations, they can't really pick and choose.
Except that they will. Except that if you
it's quite possible.
If you make these carve outs, they will. You know, a person will need an emergency abortion.
Yeah.
And they won't get it because the doctor doesn't understand that they're still required to do it. And
well, that's one of them. Another one, Dan, is Kentucky lawmakers are considering approving a bill to protect conversion therapy in the state, which of course is what they call the
torturing gay kids.
Torturing, that you put kids through if they're LGBTQ, and you're a religious parent and
now listen,
and you
it may well be torture, but at least it's ineffective.
Right, exactly. Apparently, they want to protect counselors, therapists, and pastors who are providing therapy to minors from discriminatory actions by the government. And they want
actions like viciously protecting the children.
Yeah, horrible. And then they say that this will allow parents to make choices on what kind of therapist a minor sees. A bad one. And let's see. Yeah, so there's that moving through. I don't know the Kentucky state legislature well enough to know whether that's going to make it through. But their governor, who's a Democrat, actually used a executive order to end conversion therapy, I guess a year or two ago. So this is their effort. They're pushing back. They want it. They desperately want to torture some kids.
But what if my kid is gay? I need to be able to torture them into being the person that I want them to be instead of the person they are.
Yep. And in Texas, a state panel is advancing a bill that requires 10 commandments in the classrooms. Of course.
Yeah.
So that's happening in Texas, along with a bunch of other states. That's a headline I've seen. You just swap out the state name basically on that one. That's almost everywhere in the South Bible Belt. And
here.
And then Tennesseans. There's a resolution that's making its way through the legislature that will allow you, if you are spiritually inclined, to observe a month of prayer and fasting. I don't know why you couldn't do that without this, but that is also coming along.
Okay.
It's a resolution designating the month of July as a time of prayer and fasting for the, quote, physically able and spiritually inclined.
They're making Ramadan. They're deciding they get to do Ramadan too.
Yeah, they're jealous.
Congratulations on your Ramadan, everybody. Have a good one. Enjoy it.
Yeah, that should be something that people opposing this should be pointing out in kind of just the phrasing that you just like what are you, what are you, a bunch of Muslims?
You damn dirty Muslims.
And that'll make them think twice about passing that one.
Yeah. I don't know. Can you make these people think twice about anything?
Can you make them think once?
Once they get an idea in their head. Yeah. All right. Those are all fun.
Mhm.
Thanks for those.
Yep.
I'm going to close us out with a report that there's a book coming, everybody. I hope you're into reading because there's a new book coming out. Now, normally, if I hear about a book coming out called The War on Science, decrying a war on science, I would feel like, yeah, that sounds like a needed book in the current environment where literally
there is a war on science.
There is a war on science. Our health secretary is a fucking nutball who doesn't believe in science and stuff. So it's happening. I am opposed to the war on science. That's not the one this one talks about. This war on science book is going to be featuring essays from the likes of Richard Dawkins, Jerry Coyne, Jordan Peterson, Steven Pinker, and will be edited by Lawrence Krauss. Now, several of the names that I just read are fairly prominent atheists.
Yeah.
And all of them are whiny douchebags. So,
wow.
Well, come on. Literally, this book is going to be one very long whine about how their speech has been shut down and the woke culture won't. And look, we don't know. You and I have not read this book. It is not out yet.
Yeah.
There is a table of contents available that basically lists sections of the book, including section 1 called Free Speech, Victimhood, and Ideology. Really looking forward to that one.
Okay. All right.
I'm guessing that word victimhood is going to not piss anyone off at all, that part of it. Section 2 is ideological corruption of academic disciplines.
Ooh.
That one I'm more interested in.
There could be something in there.
We'll see.
They might make some good points.
Section 3 is cancel culture. You and I have had long discussions about what we think of cancel culture, but not on air because we don't want to be canceled.
Whoa, that's dangerous, Dan.
I know. Section 4, the impact of diversity, equity, and inclusion bureaucracies on scholarship and academia. Yoicks. Can we just be clear about something?
What's that?
In case anyone needs to hear this because they haven't really thought it through and don't understand what DEI hiring is all about, etc., here's how this works. In the past, two people with completely similar, credentials, bona fides, etc., people who have the same degree, people who basically are both qualified. In the past, what would happen is the hiring person, who was a white male, would hire another white male because that's who they're used to, that's who they understand, that's who they're not afraid of. And so, qualified people of color, qualified women, qualified people of different gender identities would therefore not be hired. And they wouldn't say that it was because of that. It was just because, in large part, it was because the hiring person only understood this one demographic well enough to feel comfortable hiring that person. So then these DEI initiatives were put into place to say, hey, look, there are plenty of qualified people of all of the things, and now you have to hire a few of them that don't look exactly like you. And that's what it was. It was never about like hiring unqualified people just to fill a quota. It was about hiring qualified people who also happened to not be, because really those are the DEI hires. The ones who are getting, the unqualified people who are getting hired were always white men who were less qualified than their counterparts of color and of various gender identities. But they had the advantage of being not scary or not different. So yes, I'm looking forward to hearing from this book all about, from Pete Boghossian about how DEI has ruined everything and he can't get a job anymore.
Yeah, that's why he can't get a job.
That's the only reason. And then section 5 is going to have gender, race, ideology, science, and scholarship. And then section 6, what can be done? That'll be interesting. That's where Jordan Peterson and Steven Pinker are going to be. And then an epilogue by Lawrence Krauss. I don't know what this book is going to hold. I don't think it's going to make me very happy, but I do think there will be things in it that I probably agree with. Sorry. And then right next to those things, there will be things that will infuriate me. So
yeah, but having your opinions challenged, that's always a good thing. Yeah. So
all right. Well, if
we might hate the book.
Yeah. Well,
but
if
we're interested in it.
We're interested. We
Sorry, I keep cutting you off.
I will find a way to read the book without paying for it. Is part of what I'm going to get at.
Let me see if I can keep timing my next phrase.
Yeah, just to
leave a little gap for you to come in.
I'll start.
Yeah, okay.
If you, friends, would like to write into us or communicate with us about any of the things that you have heard, please feel free to do so. Podcast at thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442. Stick around. There's more show coming up.
Well, Frank, we've had some folks write into us and call into us and all sorts of fun things. So let's get started here. Dave wrote in and said, it's Lent, so that means all the Lenten foods are at the grocery store in Pittsburgh.
Wow.
We have the normal fried fish and shrimp, but also pierogies and haluski, which is fried cabbage and noodles. Happy carb season, says Dave.
All right.
There you go. I think that's... Yeah.
I didn't realize.
It's interesting. I don't live, you and I don't live in predominantly Catholic society. And so,
or I think the kinds of Protestant that do observe Lent.
That do a Lenten thing.
Yeah.
I guess they stop eating meat and then suddenly it's all about fish.
That's weird.
I just go kosher for the entire Lenten period myself.
All right. Well, good for you.
Frank and Dan, thanks for a great show. My wife's unhealthy grandma fervently prays daily that she passes away. This is crazy. Mormon, ex-Mormons friends, let's all hold hands as we listen to this. She fervently prays daily that she passes away before President Nelson of the LDS Church dies. According to her, she would not be able to morally sustain that liberal Dallin H. Oaks as prophet. Now, mind you, everybody, the sustaining of a prophet is like it's this sort of pro forma thing. It's not. It's a rubber stamp, but everybody is asked to just raise their hand and sustain each prophet, which used to be a no-brainer for anybody. It didn't matter what their political views were or whatever, but it has gotten weird in Mormonism. Dallin Oaks, for anyone who doesn't know, we've talked about him before. He's a crazy homophobe who happened to also be part of the Utah Compromise, where, gay people could not be discriminated against as long as the church was allowed to discriminate against them. Anyway, he's not a liberal by any stretch. This is by Jason, by the way. Jason goes on to say he did compromise, and he reportedly wept with joy in 1978 when the priesthood was extended to every worthy male, aka black folks. So yes, apparently Oakes isn't a horrible racist, but was pleased by that. Okay, that's fine. So Jason says, so maybe Oakes is not just hateful, but complicated. Jason goes on to say, Dan, you commented that people return to belief in times of trouble. I can see many people, I could see people may return to belief. I also think they may start their own congregations instead of returning to established religion. I can imagine a significant Mormon division. Many Mormons, like my wife's grandma, my MAGA brother, have beliefs that contradict LDS doctrine and policy. I believe in the possibility of a new division, the Evangelical Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Ugh, gross.
I mean, I can see it, like we've talked about it a lot. There's a schiz is happening. Like there's something rumbling in Mormonism. It's getting a little crazy out there.
It is indeed. Well, Dan, the voicemail that I have actually dovetails with this. Sort of bringing up the same issue of like people maybe returning to church, with the numbers of Christians, the fall off sort of our numbers plateauing and their numbers sort of stabilizing, I guess.
Right.
So yeah, let's have a listen.
Okay.
Hey guys, this is Faye, longtime listener. We were talking about the plateau of the nuns and the Christianity. I'm wondering if you guys think it will be possible that we will see an uptick in Christianity because there are people who are afraid to be seen as not Christian. For example, I live in a small town in Idaho, and I've honestly been considering taking my family to church just so that if things get nasty, we've got a record of attending church. So I want to know, do you guys think that that's a real thing that's going to be happening, or you've heard of other non-believers and atheists who have also been considering going to church? Just kind of what your guys' thoughts are on the state of being afraid in fascist America. Anyways, keep up the good work.
Wow.
Yeesh.
Not wrong though. Like I want to be an idealist and say things like, no, be your true self. Don't give in to them or whatever. But we do live in a society, and you want to keep your family safe, and it's getting nasty out there.
Yeah.
And so if you can't leave the shitty state that you're in, which moving is very hard. If you can leave, get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
Idaho is not okay. It is an unacceptable place. It's beautiful. Nice to drive through. Unacceptable. Oklahoma,
Boise?
similar.
What about Boise?
Fuck Boise.
Oh my God. How dare you? Have you ever been?
I've had some lovely times in Boise.
You would not say fuck Boise.
I've been to Boise. I've been to Boise several times. And look, I'm willing to give up Boise because fuck Idaho. The point here is you got to do what's right for you and your family. And I don't blame anybody for pretending to be like, it sounds painful.
That sounds awful.
Here's what you do. Don't pretend like if you're in Idaho, small town Idaho, and like a lot here, people don't necessarily know this. Idaho is just Utah North, but worse. So
It's
a
not
lot
entirely true, but
it's not
sure.
entirely true.
Yeah,
but
okay.
like there's plenty of like a lot of the small towns are Mormon dominated.
The southern, yeah.
Here's what I would do. Say you're Catholic. Go Easter, go Christmas. And that's it. Because then you're not going to church. You're just observing a cultural moment. Get a smudge on your forehead for Ash Wednesday, and then you're golden.
Yeah, the Methodists will do that for you. So probably easier than being Catholic.
Is it though? I'm just saying, like, there's a culture like that. It's understood in Catholicism that like there's cultural Catholics. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, it's like,
Yeah, but then you have to like sit through the occasional mass. Ugh. Mass
You think
is
that's worse
awful.
than like a Methodist church?
Oh, I'd much rather go to a Methodist church.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
go listen to some preacher preach some nonsense and hear a choir sing. It would be fine. Some organ music. It's fine.
Okay. Pick your poison. Enjoy yourself.
I'm not. That also sounds awful.
I'm not going to church anytime soon.
But
I live in a biggish city.
She says she's been considering taking her family to church, which makes me assume that there's kids, right?
Yeah.
And I can kind of, that fucking sucks because you don't want to indoctrinate your kids or have them like exposed to that indoctrination. But at the same time, you also want your kids to be safe.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like this horrible dilemma, one that you and I don't have to really deal with. Because also we do live in a city that's a blue dot.
You're right. Idaho is a horrible dilemma. You're correct.
Great. Cool.
Washington and Oregon are right there. I'm just saying. Okay. But don't go to the parts that are near Idaho. It gets better the further west you go. All right. Randy wrote into us, talking about, the story. We did a story last week about, yet another cake shop trying to refuse to make a wedding cake for gay folks. I think maybe it was a couple of weeks ago. Randy said, I think those cake stories where the owner is refusing to sell a cake to for a same-sex wedding are PR stunts. I think that makes sense. I mean, if you want to sort of plant your flag as come to us if you're Christian, we're the good Christian baker, that could make sense. You'll lose out on, it feels like the gay cake, the gay wedding cake is that's like pinnacle wedding cake right there. That's the one you want. But there you go. Yeah. Anyway, Randy goes on to say, also, I'd love to hear you tell us how much it would take to be the Lord and Savior. Oh. It might be a great challenge for us /you. And to that, I say thank you, Randy, for wanting to donate to us.
Yeah.
I think the challenge is you have to just keep giving.
Just keep
raising it. Start high if you want to, but keep raising it until you get there. And frankly, it doesn't really count. Like, you could be a 1 week Lord and Savior, but if you don't do it for a full month, did you ever really achieve Lord and Savior?
What did you save? Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I like this idea. I think there should be a new arms race to be the Lord and Savior of the podcast.
It's happened before.
It has happened.
Yeah.
Davis is not unsupplantable. And to be honest, you might be shocked at how easy it is. I don't know where people's brains go for how much is a lot per episode, but try it. See what you can come up with. Have fun. The problem is we can't disclose what an individual donor gives to us, how much they give to us.
There are ethics and privacy rules involved here.
Right.
Yeah.
But I would love for people to start taking Davis out. I think Davis doesn't even realize he's still giving to us. I think he signed up a while ago and
I don't think so. I just looked right now, and as of the last payout, he's still up there.
He's still up there. Yeah. Nobody's done it yet. Yeah. All right.
I just wanted to make sure, and I actually wanted to know the amount.
Yeah.
And
Davis, if you're out there, let us buy you lunch or something. God, reach out to us, okay? Anywho, let me get to some people who have given us some money. Rory is now a new donor, a one-time donation. Thank you so much, Rory. You are a priest in our Magic Power Kingdom. So well done. And Susan has become a monthly subscriber. So thank you so much, Susan. You are a teacher among us. Go out and do you remember, Frank, what teachers did?
Teachers set up the sacrament.
Oh, yeah. and sometimes had to visit ward members. I don't know why. Anyway, you have
when they're sick.
those magic powers. So thank you so much to you two. And do you have some folks to thank as well?
I do indeed, Dan. Another list of people.
Keep it coming. You're saving our lives.
Amazing. We have 3 new teachers by the name of Pam, Alan, and another Susan.
Amazing.
So thank you to y'all. And then we have a new priest by the name of Denise.
Amazing.
And then we have 2 new patriarchs.
What?
Woo! Liz and Mark. So thank you.
Thank you all so much.
To all of you. It's been incredible, I have to say, over the last few weeks. Just seeing all of these new patrons coming in.
You guys can't understand how much it is saving our butts here.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Thank you. And if you'd like to join them, I'd love to thank a whole bunch of people next week too.
Yeah, buddy.
And just go to our website, thankgodimatheist.com/donate. And as always, we do have our top donor to thank, our Lord and Savior, Davis.
More show coming up. Well, Frank, we've talked several times about the measles outbreak that's needlessly happening in Texas right now.
Right.
And one of the things, so I looked at this as one of my potential stories, and then it got me thinking, and that's never a good thing.
We don't.
I think Dan thinking is always bad, but here's what I want to talk about. This story involves a private Christian school in Texas that it was revealed, because here's the thing: these schools have to send stats to the state about the vaccination status of their student population.
Right.
And that came out, and this school, Mercy Culture Preparatory Academy,
sounds great,
in North Texas, they're the big winners in that they have the least vaccinated population of students in the state.
And it's a shocking number.
By a lot.
Yeah.
They are look, listen, you have to have 95, I think, percent vaccination in order to get herd immunity, in order for everyone to be pretty protected.
Yeah.
So the fact that there are so many schools that are well under that is terrifying. Lots of schools are below 60% vaccinated.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah.
This school, Mercy Culture Preparatory Academy, is at 14.3% vaxxed. That is less than half the percent that the next worst school is.
Oh, wow. They're winning.
They are. Well, and here's the thing. They're a pastor and an official from that school recently heard about that and did a video about it and posted it and was thrilled, was just pleased as punch, and was so proud.
Oh my God.
That he was an official of the school that was, in our view, most putting children in danger.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, was because here's the thing. I think it's so easy for us to demonize people. And it is so easy for us to assume that, or to just sort of think, well, that's just a bad person.
Right.
And I don't think that's true. I think that this person, he cares about his students. And I think he genuinely would not want any of his kids to die. Like, I think that he would be horrified if one of his students died.
So I think he would personally, I suspect that when measles hits his school and a couple kids die, that's the price you pay. They'll be sad, right?
Right.
But that's for freedom, right? That's the price that you pay. And well, the Lord wanted little Jimmy back, right?
I could see somebody saying that, but I don't. I mean, look, neither of us has any knowledge on this.
Right.
This is just speculation on both of our parts. But one of the things that I wanted to get to was just nobody wants kids to die. Like nobody's shooting for dead kids in this environment. Like we don't want kids to die. He doesn't want kids to die.
Right. No, I'm not saying he does.
Right.
I'm saying that he knows if he doesn't know that measles, if it gets into his school, right, into that population, that there very, very, very possibly could be a death, or more than just one, because of that. I don't think. I think where he places the blame on that is so completely lets him off the hook, right? As somebody who might be able to affect policy, a different way.
What I wanted to get at, I mean, yes, I think that these people carefully craft their worldview in a way that lets them off hooks. I think that is an important part of how their worldview operates.
Right. And we all do that. Right.
We all do it.
We all have we all balance personal freedom versus the collective good. Right. We all have a place that we land on that in that scale. Right. Well, and that's the scale we're talking about here.
And it's interesting because I saw a recent TikTok that I found interesting that was talking about how we manage risk and how we approach risks in our society, and talking about how if there was I don't remember what their idea was, but like let's just say that there is a new kind of autonomous car, and it drives around and every now and then it glitches a little bit and kills a kid. I think everybody would freak out about that and be like, no, get these things off the road. Like, even if it was like one car in every, million cars, 1 in a million.
Even if it reduced vehicular death. Right?
That's not even what I'm getting at. Let's say it reduces crashes. But it just every now and then swerves and kills a kid. There's just that glitch.
Oh, like
let's just say that it has that. The thing is, that's still better odds than swimming pools have. You know what I mean?
Right. Sure.
So we assess these risks differently depending on our perception of the value of the thing.
Right.
And I mean, I think a lot of times, I think an autonomous vehicle that prevented prevented a lot of serious vehicular accidents and therefore vehicular deaths, but then also every now and then swerved and killed a kid, even if it's saving more kids than it's killing. I think people would see it differently. And I think we need to be honest with ourselves about where people who have what we deem horrific views, where they're actually coming from. Because I think a lot of people want to demonize someone like this guy who's just so pleased as punch about nobody being vaccinated in the school. And he's not a demon.
Right.
He just has a very different, yes, he's probably believed some falsehoods about what vaccination is and what it does and how effective it is. And he's also bought into a whole bunch of shit about personal liberty and everybody should have their rights and choices and blah, blah, blah. And, and yeah, he didn't believe a lot of the true statistics that came out about like COVID. And he thought that it was huge government overreach for them to mandate that people wear masks and that people blah, 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 because it wasn't even that bad of a thing anyway. I just think that we need to, I think one of the things that we're really bad at as a culture is imagining what the other person is thinking and trying to get at the heart and also humanizing the other side.
Right.
Rather than demonizing. Because demonizing is pretty easy to do.
Oh, yeah.
But humanizing is really hard. Because it's so hard to look at a person who is celebrating a thing that has already killed a child and will continue to kill children.
Yeah.
When there is a very safe alternative at the ready, easily easy to accomplish, and people aren't doing it. And it's endangering the kids of people who are doing the responsible thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's so bizarre that it's like the hill that they're dying on literally is vaccines, right? Like this, they've been around for so long.
The settled science, it's so obvious. Like the numbers are real, and
the bogus claims that have been made about the risks of a vaccine or being vaccinated, like, and yet that's what they're more willing to look at one single badly done study, right, that came up with some risks and it's been debunked, right?
Yeah. And then a series of like untrustworthy doctors who are making a fortune off of alternative things or whatever.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, and then they turn this into like a personal freedom thing that they're willing to put their personal freedom, their choice on this issue above the collective good, right? Yeah. And you say that it's, I don't know that it's demonizing them to point out just how faulty their thinking is on this whole thing, right? Like Absolutely. They're all for personal freedom. They're all for like personal, like people having that agency, right, to make that decision. And yet this is a school with a strong and extremely strict uniform policy, right? Like they're very interested in conformity, right? They're very interested in these kids coming out of their school with a singular worldview. Right. And that's why they're sequestering their children into places like this, away from the public schools.
Absolutely.
And, like, maybe I don't want to demonize them, but these people fucking scare me, right? That they're so 100%. Unwilling to engage with and connect with with society at large, and to have an ounce of caring, right, about their neighbors. These are the same people who wouldn't wear masks. What a minor and small thing it was to ask people to wear masks, and these people acted like it was the end of the fucking world, right? Yeah. And so they have some concerns about a substance being injected into their kids. Fine. But then they're completely unwilling to engage with actual information about it. These people are dangerous, and we know that they're dangerous to our society.
Yep.
Right. And so I don't know. I'm not like sure. I think it's an interesting thought experiment, I suppose, to like try to walk through their worldview and to kind of see the world from their perspective, to try to understand them. But at the end of the day, I don't have a lot of empathy for them.
Well, here's where I'm gonna, because I agree with like everything that you just said, except this. And the thing, the problem that I have right now is what our response has been to these people has been, you fucking idiots, you're endangering children, your children and mine.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking get in line. And that is the correct emotional response to these people. But it is the incorrect approach to these people because it is absolutely ineffective.
Yeah.
What we have done has not worked. What we are doing is not fucking working. We are not communicating with them. They basically, they knuckle under, they dig in their heels, and they say, aha, that's my enemy.
Yeah. So
I'm not going to believe a word that comes out of their mouth because that's my fucking enemy, and they're mad at me, and they're screaming at me.
Yeah. So is there a way, Dan, to put the vaccine into the water supply somehow?
Just force it on like them. Just sneak it into them. Just walk around Texas accidentally injecting
some sort of
people.
Perfume, maybe, that you could just like
you know what we
accidentally into their face. Right?
We could put it in the contrails. They already assume that that's happening. Let's make chemtrails real. I'm going to start that's the new campaign. We're going to make chemtrails real. And you're all going to be fucking vaccinated whether you like it or not. Just shut up.
You guys dreamt up this dumb idea. So
this was your plan. We're just putting it into motion. Yeah. Okay. So that's my whole point. My whole point is just we have to start taking responsibility for the fact that we are not communicating with them in ways that they are willing to hear.
Oh, I agree.
And that is on us. And we need, if we want to make this country better and stop what's happening,
make it great again, so to speak.
We need to do things differently. We can't keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result.
Yeah.
So stop fucking screaming at people who have admittedly horrifying viewpoints and start trying something different.
I will say this, Dan.
Yeah.
I don't think the parents of the kids at Mercy Culture Preparatory are the reachable ones. I think, they're in one place. They've found their little corner of the universe. They're largely lost causes, right? People who are, if this school is this unvaccinated, right? These people have found their people. They have support. They have pastors going online and being proud of their great achievements, right?
Yeah.
In non-vaccination. Like they're gone in my mind. What's important is that there is a middle, right? And I think that the left's message, I do believe this, right? The left has done a bad job of communicating to the middle, right? The middle is achievable, right? And there'll always be fringe people. Like, I don't get these people at all, right? But I bet some of these other schools have a lot of people. They always have a lot of vaccine hesitancy if you're at like 60 or 70% of your population being vaccinated. There's also a lot of people there that must, at least at one point in time, believe in vaccination, right? And so, like, I don't know, like, we got to go for what's also possible. I think these people are gone.
I don't. I disagree with you. I think that these people are very easily led. And
Okay.
I think that the right people, the thing is, we don't need to reach them. We need to reach the people who are leading them.
Give them a deal they can't refuse.
I guess so. I don't know. I feel like these are the people that are actually most easily reached if you reach them correctly, but that's not easy to do. Anywho, what the fuck do we know? You guys know some things, so you guys should chime in on this and then scream at me about all the things I'm getting wrong. So please do so. Reach out to us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
To support the show, go to thankgodimatheist.com/donate.
This episode was edited by Roger Gowdy, and music was provided by the Red Rock Hot Club and Gordon Johnston.
Thanks to all y'all for tuning in. We sure do appreciate you.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank God I'm Atheist is a production of TGIA Media, LLC, copyright 2025, all rights reserved.